I've been a little embarrassed recently because I've noticed that whenever my roommates ask me a question like, what have you been doing for the past 5 hours? What's that video you're watching? Or why are there police officers at the front door? The answer always relates to Sonic in some way. And safe to say I've been a little obsessed with the franchise as of late. I couldn't tell you how far back this started, but I vividly remember my 9-year-old self sprinting through the playground and a friend laughing and asking why I'm Naruto running and just thinking to myself, who the f*** is Naruto? This blue piece of fairy bait, along with Ben 10 and my father, have been my heroes for most of my life, but the weird thing is I didn't own any of the games, except Sonic All-Stars Racing, but in retrospect, it's probably for the best because God forbid my parents got me something like Sonic Chronicles. My life would be awful. Okay, actually, I did go like 2 years with my only DS game being Brain Training, so I probably wouldn't have complained too much. Anyways, the way I fueled my Sonic kicks before I owned a bank account was to play Flash games and consume other fan content, watch playthroughs and watch the cartoons. Through a mix of all of these, I somehow became hooked on the raw hype that were the transformations found in the series, and this was way before I discovered anime, so as far as I'm concerned, Gogeta and Vegeta were poor imitations of Hyper Shadow's beauty.
I'm losing the battle, the battle. Relax yourself, girl, please settle down. 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 Relax yourself, girl, please settle down.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis, one of the most iconic video games of all time, no doubt.
We do not care.
Sonic 2, however, okay, inject that into my damn veins. This is one of the best games in the series. It introduced the most iconic move in Sonic's arsenal and improved the level design immensely. I mean, how did any of the game developers look at Lab in the Zone and think it was acceptable? But yeah, Super Sonic was introduced in Sonic 2 and has been a staple of the franchise ever since. It's a reward given to the player for collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds and results in invincibility, increased speed, and flight. The form also drains the player's rings. When they eventually run out, they'll revert back to their original form. Sonic isn't the only one to have super form though.
Not bad. Things would have been over faster if I'd been Super Knuckles.
Knuckles' form was introduced in Sonic 2K. It grants him the same abilities as Sonic's, accompanied by pink glow, which isn't the weirdest color Chaos Energy is made in, I promise. Supercells wasn't a part of the original Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic 2, but when they were remastered in 2013 it was a lovely addition. However, the original appearance was in Sonic Heroes. Shadow Super Form is probably the second most iconic transformation on this list, after that of the titular character of course. This is due to its introduction in the final arc of one of the best games the franchise has to offer. Silver also has one as seen in Sonic 06, where after Sonic is resurrected by the power of bestiality, which apparently isn't illegal in Hawaii, Kentucky, New Mexico, West Virginia, or Wyoming, and for whatever reason, none of those places making that list surprised me. Like I was saying, after Sonic is resurrected, him, Shadow, and Silver share the Chaos Energy, and other than Super Sonic and Sonic Advance 2, these are probably the best look I think they've ever had. And also Ray and Mighty were given super forms in Sonic Mania that just look cold as hell. The hyper forms are achieved by collecting the Super Emeralds. They're only ever featured in 3K, but tell me whose gooch I have to sniff to bring it back and I'll be there ASAP. Due to the limited run, there are only 3 characters that harness this form. Sonic turns into a walking epilepsy trigger, Knuckles is slightly more flamboyant, and Tails looks the same but circled by yellow flickies. Metal Sonic has been a beloved Sonic villain since his introduction in Sonic CD back in 1993. He's been a thorn in Sonic's side for many years, whether as a minion, to his creator Eggman, or in the spotlight as a mastermind. During this time, he has had numerous transformations. In Knuckles Chaotix, Dr. Eggman rebuilds Metal Sonic as Metal Sonic Kai, after he had been severely damaged. For the longest time, this was his only in-game appearance until, after 23 years in 2018, he was seen in Sonic Mania Plus sporting a fresh coat of blue paint and the new name of Gigametal. After betraying Eggman in the story of Sonic Heroes, Metal Sonic acquires a new form. Don't ask me how, I have no idea, but this is Neo Metal Sonic. This also granted him 2 further transformations, Metal Master and Metal Madness. Also, Metal was able to channel wisp abilities. I'm never gonna talk about that, I don't care. Same with Shadow, I don't care. Okay, speaking of Shadow, let's tackle the rest of his forms, because while researching this I realized there's a couple more than I thought there were. Dark Shadow and Hero Shadow are forms introduced in the Shadow the Hedgehog game. The forms are attainable based on whether the player decides to follow the hero or dark routes respectively. The hero one gives him a calming blue glow, maybe symbolizing that he's becoming more like Sonic, who he views as a symbol of good. I don't know, I'm not an English teacher, I just pulled out of my ass. The dark form, on the other hand, gives him a fierce red glow, and both forms grant him invincibility, while the hero one improves his chaos control, and the dark one improves his chaos blast. The last canon Shadow transformation, other than Wisps, is Chaos Boost. It's not very complicated, it was introduced in Sonic 06. It's a state he can access where he has increased speed, health, and his chaos powers are also increased. It doesn't stop him from playing like actual garbage though. I'm not going to mention any of the generic final boss transformations in detail, but here's a list. Perfect Chaos, Dark Queen Merlina, Perfect Dark Gaia, Final Hazard, Devil Doom, Mephiles' transformation, and Ultimate Emerald. I may have missed one, but who really cares? What I do care about mentioning is Burning Blaze. It was introduced in her debut game, the criminally underrated Sonic Rush. She's a princess from a dimension parallel to Sonic's. In this world, there are no Chaos Emeralds. Instead, her dimension possesses its own collection of 7 powerful gems called the Soul Emeralds. Using the power of all 7 of them, Blaze is able to harness powers of similar magnitude to You know what, I'm not even gonna cut that out, I'm gonna leave that in there, because when I tell you recording this, it's hell. Like not just this, everything, because I stumbled over my... Blaze is able to harness powers of similar magnitude to Soup Sonic, along with a buff to her pyrokinesis. Truth be told, this next one really isn't canon, but it's so badass I can't not bring it up. During season 3 of the mid-2000s Sonic X cartoon, a scene was featured so iconic within the fandom that it would stir hype for years to come. The gist is Sonic's friends were threatened, and in a rare fit of rage, with the power of fake Chaos Emeralds, he transformed into a sleek black version of Soup Sonic, dubbed by the community Dark Sonic. The scene only took seconds, but it blew my child mind. Just so that I don't end this video on the Wisps, I'm gonna go over them really quickly. They originate from Sonic Colors, the only game where their inclusion has actually been acceptable. They are a race of aliens that decided to help Sonic by merging with him and imbuing him with unique abilities. The poster child for the Wisps is a white one named Yakko, which I promise isn't a slur, but the white ones don't provide a transformation in any of the games they're present in, so here are the ones that do. Absorbing the red Wisps provides Sonic with a red burst, which gives him slight pyrokinetic abilities and turns him into a red fireball. Absorbing the magenta Wisps gives Sonic access to the magenta rhythm, a transformation that resembles a music note and allows him to bounce in midair. Absorbing the crimson Wisp turns Sonic into a crimson eagle, which can fly freely. The pink Wisp gives Sonic the pink spikes form, allowing him to roll around as a pink spiky ball with destructive force and the ability to stick to surfaces. The Grey Quake form, this gained from the Grey Wisp, is similar to the pink one in abilities, just without the spikes and with increased weight. The Green Wisp gives the Green Hover form, which allows him to, who would have guessed, hover through the air and perform ring dashes. The Indigo Wisp turns Sonic into a miniature planet in a form known as Indigo Asteroid. This form grants him a strong gravitational pull and the ability to levitate. The Ivory Wisp grants Sonic the ability of Ivory Lightning, allowing him to conduct electricity and zap into conduits as living lightning. When Sonic absorbs the Purple Wisp, he achieves the form Purple Frenzy. It can slightly levitate and has the ability to consume any matter and add it to its body mass. The Violet Wisp turns him into a Violet Void, a living black hole with a gravitational pull, which I promise isn't what I just said. When the black hole consumes matter, it grows, and the bigger the void becomes, the heavier the objects that it can consume are. The blue wisp turns Sonic into a blue cube that can destroy blocks and change blue coins into blue blocks and vice versa. The cyan wisp turns Sonic into a cyan laser that can bounce off surfaces and be directed by prisms. The orange wisp turns him into an orange rocket that can blast off at high speeds. The yellow one makes him a yellow drill that can dig through the ground and water freely. And finally, the black one transforms him into a black bomb that can detonate on command without inflicting self-harm. That was a lot, and I'm sure you noticed that not all wisp forms are built equally and none of them are built creatively. One of the most controversial transformations in the franchise is in Sonic Unleashed. What sets this one apart from almost every other one is that, unlike the others, it isn't just a supplementary thing. It's a huge part of the game, arguably a bigger part. It split people down the middle, and it really just comes down to preference and whether or not you enjoy the slower paced God of War style gameplay that accompanies it. I've never really understood the apparent shock and disgust that people have over the fact that he's a Werehog. Like, bro, he's been a 4-foot blue talking hedgehog that taps into the speed force. I don't really understand how a stretchy wolfman is where you draw the line, but okay. And since I saw the animated Haunted House show as a kid, I've always loved the design and I thought it looks fire. And honestly, I don't really care what you say, the transformation scene is hard. I, for one, really like Sonic and the Black Knight, and secret rings exist, but whatever your thoughts on the story about games, you have to admit they don't miss when it comes to forms. Spoiler alert for both of those, by the way. Darkspine Sonic, no relation to Dark Sonic, is introduced at the end of Sonic and the Secret Rings. To achieve it, Sonic absorbed the red wild ring of rage, purple ring of sadness, and green ring of hatred, transforming him into a purple, more aggressive version of himself. This form grants him the ability to perform time and speed break, generate a large amount of soul energy along with an increase in durability and strength, and to wrap this video off, we have Sonic's Excalibur form. At the end of the game, after Melina has transformed into the Dark Queen, the Holy Knights, Lancelot, Gawain and Percival combine the power of their sacred blades with that of Caliburn in order to give Sonic the power needed to save the realm. And I'm not going to lie to you, reading that out, I just realized how insane this game actually sounds. Caliburn got the upgrade into Excalibur and Sonic gained this cold golden armor paired with a questionably placed cape. This form endows him with a magical boost of strength, speed, dexterity, and gives him the ability of flight. There have been a lot of awesome transformations in the series, and I wish Sega hadn't decided long ago to just forget about most of them. It would be great if they brought back some of these, possibly as DLC, whether it's one of the simple ones like Hypersonic, or even one of the more wacky ones like Excalibur. And final note, Takashi, baby, make Hyper Shadow canon please.